Dividing radicals is just as fun, if not more fun, than multiplying, adding, and subtracting all combined. You know what I'm saying? Jenny most definitely agrees. Don't you, Jenny? Apparently, she is just so psyched she just passed out. All right. Anywho, let's go ahead and rationalize our denominator. So you're not allowed to leave a square root in your denominator. Okay? That's like math law. Okay? I don't know why. Nobody knows why. Anybody I ask, they don't know why. But we just blindly follow it. Okay. Anyways, so let's do that. How do we get rid of this radical in the denominator? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by that square root of 7 in the denominator, knowing that that'll give me the square root of 49, which is 7. So my denominator will just become 7. But anything I do to my denominator, I must do to the numerator as well. So I have to multiply this by the square root of 7. And now, what I really multiplied by, anything divided by itself is 1. And anything multiplied to 1 is that anything. So I'm really not changing it. It's going to look different, but its value will still be the same. So now I'm going to have 3 times root 7, and those are separate. Done. All right? I cannot multiply the 3 and the 7 because one's inside a radical, one is outside the radical. Can't multiply them together. So they just stay separate as 3 times the square root of 7. Lovely. And there are different situations here, so let's try another one. So here I have 2 divided by 3 root 6. Now, some people are just like, well, I can just multiply by my denominator, both numerator and the denominator. I'm not going to multiply by the whole denominator because it's going to cause more simplifications later on. So I'm just going to multiply by that square root of 6. Because if I do that, now my denominator becomes 3 times the square root of 36. Okay, let's write that out. 3 times the square root of 36, which we know is 3 times 6, which is just 18. Okay, so I went right through that denominator there. Right? You don't necessarily have to write out all that work. It can be helpful if you want to keep track of things. I'm showing you each step there. All right, the numerator, that's just going to be 2 times the square root of 6. I can just pop that right over here at the very end. Okay, I can't multiply the 2 and the 6 together. They stay separate. One's outside the radical, one's inside the radical. But you may be thinking, hey, I see some even numbers here. Can I simplify? You are allowed to simplify, but only with the numbers that are outside the radical here. If you had 2 that you can simplify with inside the radical, then you could do that. But this situation only allows us to do the 2 and the 18, which would be 1 root 6 in the numerator over 9. That will be my final answer. The 6 and the 9, although they're both divisible by 3, one's outside the radical, one's inside the radical, I cannot play with both of those at the same time. Okay? So that's my final answer for that one. Let's try uno más. Oh boy, got a whole lot going on in this one. But I can actually simplify beforehand. So let's do that. The 3 over the 9 would give me 1 over 3. And the root 7 and the root 14, those are both in the square root. They're both divisible by 7. That's going to give me 1. That's going to give me 2. So now I'm going to have the square root of 1 over the square root of 2. So let's clean this up a little bit. Square root of 1 is just 1. So I got 1 times 1 in the numerator, which is just 1 over 3 root 2. Now, this is exactly like the previous problem that we had with a 3 root 6 in the denominator. I'm going to attack it the same way. So I'm going to multiply this by root 2 in the denominator and in my numerator. Have to do it in both, right? This way I'm multiplying by 1, which doesn't really change it. So I'm going to have 1 root 2, which is root 2, all over. It's going to be 3 times the square root of 4, which is 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. That time I didn't write out all my work. I just went right to that final 6 there. I circled it because the root 2, I can't simplify that with the 6, which is outside the radical. That is my final answer. That was dope. That was awesome. Jenny, do you feel the same way? Heck yeah, she did. She loved it. All right. America Freedom, rock and roll, Costco, Riverdog Jenny on the gram, and Yo Ro. See you later.